This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Garrett, and welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today, September the 10th, is a very underrated defensive player who was really underrated throughout a lot of his career. He is a minor owner of the Grand Rapids G League team, as in the Pistons farm team, if you will. He is regarded by many as the greatest undrafted player in NBA history. He attended community college and then he went to Virginia Union University, not VCU. That's Virginia Commonwealth, but Virginia Union. In his NBA career, Ben Wallace would play for Washington, Orlando, Detroit, Chicago, and Cleveland. But it was Detroit where he really shone the most. He was a four-time Defensive Player of the Year, sharing it with Dikembe Mutombo. In 9 seasons with the Pistons, over 2 stints, he went to the finals twice and won the title in 2004. The Pistons would retire as number 3 in 2016, and he is to be enshrined into the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. So he studied criminal justice at Virginia Union, a Division II school. He actually went to Italy for a tryout. And then Washington needed some bodies, so they decided to say, hey, you know what? Let's get this guy, Ben Wallace. Wallace would play in 34 games for the Wizards in 97. The following year, he was in 67 and only started in 16. He didn't do much. Washington just couldn't make the playoffs. Wallace would end up in Orlando in a trade for Isaac Austin. He became a starter for the Orlando Magic, getting like 8 rebounds a game. And then after his one season, the Magic decided to trade Wallace alongside Chucky Atkins to Detroit as compensation in a signed and trade deal for Grant Hill. So the Magic basically took Grant Hill from the Pistons and needed to trade some players around. So they traded Ben Wallace to Detroit. That move would bite Orlando in the butt. Grant Hill just kept getting injured and didn't help the Magic that well. And Ben Wallace just stormed off. The trade for Hill was one-sided. A lot of people thought it was the other way around. But Ben Wallace would be second in rebounds per game with 13. Pretty good. Pistons didn't make the playoffs. But he would be a rebounder and shot blocker. He didn't score many points, but it didn't matter. He just rebounded and shot blocked. Like 3.5 a game. That's amazing. His strong defensive play meant he got the Defensive Player of the Year award in 2002. Pistons would fall to Boston in the conference semifinals. Wallace would win the 2003 Defensive Player of the Year award, which was great and all that, helping Detroit get close to getting to the finals, but the Nets got them in the conference finals. Wallace would somehow lose the Defensive Player of the Year to Ron Artest. Ironically, Ron Artest the next year would get himself into deep shit. Anyway, Wallace was still on the All-Defensive First Team and the All-NBA Second Team. He would help the Pistons in the playoffs, especially with his rebounding, getting them to the finals for the first time in 14 years at that point. Detroit was dominating, winning the series in 5 games over the Lakers. It was amazing to see him. In that playoff run, Wallace got 10 points a game and 14 rebounds a game. Pretty good, eh? Of course, Ben Wallace would, in fact, be one of the main players in the famous Malice at the Palace. When the Pacers took on the Pistons, there was a big brawl. Wallace was upset over Ron Artest hurting him during a foul, so he shoved Artest. Wallace was given a 6-game suspension. Thankfully, it wasn't that much. The Pacers really suffered because of that, because a lot of their players got suspended. And of course, Artest was out for the rest of the year, so they were losing their marbles. The Pistons got to the NBA Finals, but unfortunately, the Spurs managed to win a key game thanks to Robert Ory's three-pointer in Game 5. Wallace did get 10 points, 11.3 rebounds, all that. Wallace won another Defensive Player of the Year in 2005, 2006, so he got 4 in a 5-year span. Unfortunately, Ben Wallace had a controversial altercation with Flip Saunders during the conference finals, and he was benched. So basically, Wallace decided to leave the team, and Chicago came knocking. Scott Skiles of the Bulls, like the head coach, said there would be no headbands, but the teammates voted in favor of allowing him to keep the signature headband because that's how he played, and Skiles agreed. Wallace would basically be a defensive stopper and rebounder. The Bulls tried their best, and they actually shocked the Miami Heat, who were the defending champions of 06, to face Detroit, ironically enough. The Pistons did win in 6 games. So, anyway, Skiles was removed as head coach in 07-08. And then after 50 games, Wallace was dealt to Cleveland. In a trade that also involved Seattle, Cleveland received Ben Wallace, Joe Smith, Wally Szczerbiak, and Delonte West. The Bulls received Larry Hughes, Shannon Brown, Cedric Simmons, and Drew Gooden. And the Sonics only got Ira Newble, Donnell Marshall, and Adrian Griffin. Wallace had to battle with injuries, and then he went for Cleveland. Ben Wallace was moved to power forward because they already had a center. Zydrunas Ilgauskas. He tried his best to do well. And then Wallace was traded to Phoenix for Shaq. So Cleveland used Wallace to get Shaq to Cleveland after Shaq was with Phoenix. The Suns decided to buy out Wallace's contract. He ended up getting $10 million. And Wallace then, a few weeks later, decided to re-sign with the Pistons to a 1-year deal. He would wear number 6 for the Pistons because his number 3 was taken by Rodney Stuckey, and he allowed Stuckey to keep that number. Wallace hit the 10,000 rebound mark in his second stint with the Pistons. And then in 2012, still with the Pistons, he played his 1,055th game, surpassing the record by Avery Johnson for most games by an undrafted player. Avery Johnson was a San Antonio's star point guard for many years. Wallace was 6'7" according to him, but 6'9" according to the stats. Anyway, he got to be NBA Defensive Player of the Year 4 times. And he's one of only 5 players in history to collect more blocks and personal fouls. So, yeah. Unfortunately, Wallace actually does hold the record for worst free throw shooting percentage in NBA history with a minimum of 1,000 free throw attempts at under 42%. Well, that's worse than Shaq. Wallace has 2 sons and a daughter. He appeared on NBA 2K5, which was my go-to NBA 2K game until, of course, 2K10 with Kobe on the cover. So, anyway. Ben Wallace said that he left professional wrestling. And he was sentenced to jail time in 2014, about a year, after he pled guilty to the leave scene of an accident in Virginia. So anyway, yeah, NBA champion, 4-time All-Star, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time Rebounding leader. Yeah, 2K5 cover athlete. Kind of like NBA 2K5 for the fact that Bill Walton was on color commentator. But 2K10 to me has a lot more spice to it, especially like retro teams like the 60s team, the 70s team, all that. I like those. And Steph Curry's in the game, so what do you expect? So yeah, so he's the first undrafted player in modern NBA history to be elected to the Hall of Fame. So that's amazing. He has Pistons records for most blocks all time, most blocks in a game, a half, a quarter, and a season, most steals in the playoffs. So yeah, not bad. He played 1,088 games in the NBA, regular season games, with only 9.6 rebounds per game. He couldn't get the double-digit rebounds per game after Chicago in 07. Well, mostly injuries. He had some great playoff runs for Detroit and Cleveland, 130 playoff games, 11.2 rebounds per game. So yeah, so he had double digits on that. That's great. So yeah, Ben Wallace was pretty good and very underrated. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adu.